Welcome to the deep dive. You brought us a chapter that truly had me on the edge of my seat, really wrestling with its beauty and, well, its pain.
That's right. We are plunging into chapter 2 of Ocean Vuong's incredibly moving book, The Emperor of Gladness. It's quite something.
And to guide us through this particular deep dive, we have the chapter text itself, which is just dense, poetic, unforgettable, and some insightful notes you shared, which really helped illuminate Vuong's signature style and the, recurring threads he pulls on.
Yeah, our mission today is to really sit with this chapter. We want to trace the boy's journey, explore how Vuong crafts such profound emotion through his unique writing, and sort of unpack the core message about finding a way to stay present even when everything is pulling you away.
It's a chapter that asks you to feel, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
really does. Okay, let's step onto that bridge.
So Vuong just drops us right into the scene, a boy on King Philip's Bridge, feeling utterly devoid of options, like completely out of paths.
Yeah.
What's striking is his initial thought process. He's not like actively choosing to jump, but thinking about being pulled by gravity, almost as if surrendering to some natural force. And he frames it as a way to hurt his mother the least, grounding this abstract despair in a really chilling specific detail, referencing that sophomore from Hebron found the previous summer.
Oh, right. That immediate mention of the other boy who didn't make it.
Yeah.
It instantly anchors the internal crisis in a very real local tragedy. It makes it feel less abstract, more immediate.
Exactly. But then the physical world sort of interrupts the plan. As he lifts his leg over the railing, he sees that lower platform. The direct jump becomes impossible.
Ah.
And this is where Vuong starts to weave in that incredible landscape imagery. It's not just description. It feels weighted with meaning, The swirling valley, the gloam,
Yeah.
those towns you can drive through while lighting a cigarette and be gone before you even finish the first drag.
Yeah. They sound almost forgettable, transient, seen only in fading light. It's like the landscape itself reflects his feeling of being on the edge, overlooked, maybe disappearing.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So the main jump is off, but the impulse hasn't left him. He moves to that lower platform, another small, specific action, thumbing off his pack.
Oh, yeah.
And it vanishes with a mute white splash. Then he inches towards the center of this lower platform, deliberately seeking the highest fall.
So the intent is still there.
Right, just redirected. And Vuong gives the bridge its own history, its own weight. Over 100 feet tall, built for passenger trains, money, representing this kind of errant optimism, now faded, signaled only by traces of yellow paint.
It's like the bridge is carrying its own history of disappointment alongside his, a place of failed promises.
Exactly. And layered into all of this are the sensory details that are just so potent. Streetlights on mud shelves, the water glowing like sunlight on wet pavement that whispered, sorry, into the rain, the wire slickened under his palms. You're pulled into the raw, cold, lonely feeling of being there.
Yeah, you really are.
It's the cumulative effect of these details that makes the scene so visceral, so emotionally resonant. And then, sort of out of the blue, comes this haunting memory, the chilling detail shared by the girl back at New Hope.
Oh, right, about drowning.
Yes. Diving after breaking the surface, touching bottom, the rapids dragging you, the icy water becoming warm and quiet, the pineal gland flooding the brain with DMT.
And a feeling of flying finally free from the human cage. Wow.
That image is just unforgettable. This imagined, chemical, almost transcendent release from the body. It speaks volumes about the level of desperation, the longing for absolute escape.
Absolutely.
And this brings us back to one of the key insights in the source notes you provided. Vuong invites us into a world where brokenness is carefully lit. It's not gratuitous, it's observed, understood, illuminated.
Carefully lit. I like that.
And the chapter introduces this profound idea. When you come to the physical edge, there's another edge inside you. And that internal edge feels both passable and utterly insurmountable at the same time.
That resonates so deeply, the external crisis mirroring the internal one. And just as he's grappling with that, he sees it a floating corpse in the river below.
Yes, described with stark, unsettling detail. Limbs stretched, opaque, staring skyward, clothes billowing.
Oh, God.
That sight is a brutal shock, designed to jolt him, and Vuong shows us the immediate physical reaction, gasping, wiping rain, blinking, seeing it clear, hiding his face, clinging to the wire. It's a raw, unthinking panic response.
You can feel the panic. And then, through the rain and the roaring river, he hears it, a voice calling out, "Come back! Come back now! Jesus, Mother Mary, not now, not today."
Right. He's so deep in his own head, he first thinks it's his imagination or maybe divine intervention.
But it's not.
No, the shift from imagined horror to slightly absurd reality is sudden and almost jarring. It's a bedsheet twisting in the current.
A bed sheet.
Yeah, and a woman fighting with laundry on a fire escape across the way.
Wow, okay. You could almost feel the sudden deflation, the embarrassment. And his instinctual shout about her blankets, followed by immediate regret, trying to make himself small.
Exactly. After being on the precipice of death, being caught in this mundane, slightly foolish way is somehow mortifying.
But he was seen. The woman spots him. She's elderly, described with those specific grounding details. White hair, stooped gait, glasses flickering gold.
And she doesn't mince words. Her reaction is immediate and blunt. What are you doing, you crazy or what? Get the hell out of there.
No messing around.
Nope. He's shivering. But Vuong tells us he's more troubled by being caught than by his earlier intention. He tries to lie his way out. It's not what you think, claiming he was just studying the water.
Offering up his appearance as proof.
Yeah, his boned face, pale as a newt's, a girlish but useless tenderness softening his eyes. That description of his own face is heartbreaking and revealing.
And Grazina, we learn her name later, sees right through it.
Totally. You can't die in front of my house, okay? I don't need any more spirits around here. She makes the sign of the cross, mutters foreign words. It's this mix of practical, almost annoyed reaction, superstition, and something deeper and weary.
She's got layers right from the start.
Definitely. He keeps trying, piling on the lies.
Hmm.
Student, future engineer, promises not to do it. He recognizes his lies are useless, rolling off like train cars going off a cliff.
That image is fantastic, the unstoppable nature of his own deception, leading inevitably to disaster.
But Grazina is firm. Get down or she's calling the police. So he starts scooting across the beam, and she's tracking him from window to window, yelping when he stumbles, yelling instructions.
It's genuinely tense, but also kind of darkly humorous. An old woman yelling, climbing advice across a river in that situation.
Right. He makes it back to the main level, tries to wave her off again. Thank you. Okay. It's all good. But she's absolutely unwavering. Bullshit. You want to die? Come over here. She insists he come to her house.
No,
None. Stepping off the bridge, he walks towards her street, and Vuong gives us a powerful sense of the setting's decay. Shambled row houses like a war movie set. Exposed walls, moldy rooms, a half-burnt house with a tree growing through it.
It adds this layer of hardship and ruin to the environment, a physical manifestation of brokenness around them.
Exactly. And Grazina's house fits in, right by the river, weathered, paint-stripped, looking as old as she is. She's 82, struggling with the lock, described with such vivid, specific details. Tall as his eyes, square jaw, bulbous nose, wire-rimmed glasses, chin like a dinner roll.
Wow, so specific.
Yeah. He's swaying, blurred vision from the rain. He tries apologizing again, pleading to leave.
But her invitation is simple, direct, and grounded. Come in, but take off your shoes. My husband put down these floors.
That detail about the floors, it immediately tells you something about her values, her history, her connection to this place. It's a small anchor in a world that feels unstable.
It really is. He hesitates, looks back down the empty, rainy street, then steps onto the porch and takes off his boots.
Inside, the house is a single hallway divided into 3 rooms, the kitchen light glowing like the hearth of an ancient cave.
And the description of the interior is so rich with history and this, tired comfort. Furniture like Lassie reruns, stuffy, mildewy, amorphous florals, wood paneling, cheap landscapes, a phantom gray cross, grim portraits.
It creates this powerful sense of a life lived within these walls, steeped in the past, perhaps a bit heavy with memory. It's not conventionally welcoming, but it feels real, saturated with its own history and emotional weight.
Definitely. He pauses at the kitchen threshold, dripping. Grazina sits him down, telling him he looks like a dunked cookie. He's awkward, not knowing what to do with his hands.
She gives him a dish towel that smells of raw onions, making his eyes sting. And then she offers this contradictory blend of comfort and bluntness.
Yeah,
Mumbling about him being a poor kid, saying whatever happened is over, but immediately follows it by telling him not to cry because tears deplete your iron. She dabs his eyes, making the sting worse, then corrects herself. Okay, you're not a boy, you're a man, and don't need nobody to wipe your tears.
That back and forth. It's almost jarring, but feels deeply human. It touches on themes of vulnerability, identity, what it means to be a man, all wrapped up in a strange health tip.
Totally. The kitchen is small, practical. She lights a cigarette, claiming it's unusual for her, And then he notices the magazine's in Lithuanian.
Ah, a clue to her past.
She explains it's from her old country, then adds this philosophical aside. But all countries are old, if you think about it.
Mm.
And Hai's internal thought that he rarely thought about any country, least of all his own, which also felt far away.
That's a quiet but potent moment about his own sense of displacement, his lack of connection, not just to his immediate life, but maybe to his own history and origin.
Exactly. She offers him a cigarette, lights it for him. And then the owls.
Mm.
They are everywhere. Figurines, paintings, bloated as old mobster.
The owls. Yeah, that was memorable.
The owls are such a quintessential Vuong, detail-specific, slightly bizarre, symbolic. Grazina's explanation that they started as gifts and became her calling card, and her insistence they are all from free countries, none of my owls came from communists, gives us a sudden, sharp glimpse into her past and values without needing a long backstory.
It's character revealed through quirky detail. Love that.
So he tries again to leave. Thanks for this, but I should go. And Grazina's response is perfect.
What does she say?
Easy little lamb, I invite you to my home, give you a cigarette. I even let you cry in my kitchen. You know it's bad luck to cry in the kitchen, right? You can at least tell me your name.
Oh my goodness. It's this pitch-perfect blend of hospitality, superstition, passive aggression, and genuine concern. It forces a connection.
Exactly. And this is where the moment about his name comes in. It's profoundly emotional.
Tell me about that.
He hesitates, thinking about the name his mother gave him, how he was ready to throw it into the river. But he realizes it wasn't the name he wanted to discard, but the breath attached to it, the life it represented. The name itself is the only thing his mother gave him he hadn't destroyed.
Wow. That connection between his name, his mother, and his self-worth, it's incredibly raw. So what does he say?
He mumbles hi,
Hi. Okay.
which leads to this moment of unexpected, slightly comical relief. The misunderstanding about his name, hi, hello, Labas.
Oh, right. Labas means hello in Lithuanian.
Yeah. It breaks the tension with this small, almost absurd interaction. And then Grazina introduces herself. Grazina, meaning beautiful, grinning through her yellow teeth.
Rosina, beautiful. This name exchange, the confusion, and then the sharing of meaning, it feels pivotal. Like the first step towards seeing each other, forming a tentative connection in this strange space.
Exactly. It really is. They keep talking. He apologizes again for the trouble. She waves it away. You live long as I do, and everything's a rag. He looks out at the bridge again, now dark, lit only by distant lights.
Still weighing on him.
Clearly. And then she shares the story of the chickens falling from the train on Christmas morning, some drowning, some swimming. It's a completely unexpected, bizarre, slightly dark anecdote.
Chickens. Okay, where's Ruin come up with this stuff?
I know. But she ties it to him with that dark humor. But I'm glad that you, Mr. Hello, you didn't become another chicken, huh?
Oh, wow. It's a strange, roundabout way of expressing empathy, acknowledging his brush with death while injecting this odd, memorable image. Vu is a master of balancing intense emotional moments with these sudden, slightly bizarre, grounding anecdotes.
Absolutely. And then the energy shifts again. Grazina gets this sudden, intense look, her eye twinkling as if lit by an artificial source. She leans in conspiratorially. Lavas, you want to know the secret to getting rid of every sorrow known to man, do you?
Okay, now I'm hooked. What's the secret?
He blinks at her, and her secret is simple, concrete, and utterly strange. Grab dinner rolls and follow her outside.
Dinner rolls.
Dinner rolls. Outside, the backyard is stark dirt, grass, crumbling concrete, the river roaring. He hesitates, the thought of running fleetingly there, but his feet won't move.
I bet. What happens next?
Grazina hobbles towards the center, buffeted by the wind. Her instructions, open the rolls, dump them on the mud,
Okay.
and the ritual begins. She stomps on a roll, twists her toe, grinds it in the mud. Isn't that wonderful? Now you try, Labes.
He must be thinking, what is happening?
His initial reaction, for Chris Ikes, it's not roadkill, contrasts sharply with her childlike glee. Her urging him on, grabbing his ankle, pressing his foot down. Go ahead and step on it. Good. Now go stronger. Crush those bastards.
Crush those bastards. Wow. That sequence is so powerful because it uses action to express emotion without shouting, which the source notes highlighted as a key Vuong technique.
Exactly. The simple physical act of crushing bread becomes this potent release, this defiance. You see the bread sunken in the mud, the waffle print of his sock, and he starts doing it.
He joins in.
He does. Grazina cheers him on. Isn't this fun? Her voice cut with childish glee. They circle, stepping from roll to roll. Her explanation. Whenever her soul going dim, she steps on rolls, and it's like a magic spell.
It's a deeply personal, almost magical, realist coping mechanism.
Totally. And as he joins in, pushing his heel, dragging a roll, leaving that powdery comet shooting across the mud, Vuong pulls back the
Oh,
lens
yeah.
and gives us this incredible transcendent image. From far away, you'd have seen two people dancing in a rainstorm in a cone of light on a Connecticut night at the end of the decade and forgotten that the country was at war.
Wow. That is a moment that just stops you. It's about finding connection, release, and a shared moment of forgetting pain, both personal and the larger world, in this bizarre, unexpected ritual.
And his reaction confirms it. His laughter feels foreign, but he concedes there was something to this after all.
So it worked, in a way.
Seems like it. Grazina explains the deeper meaning for her. Bread was precious in Lithuania. Crushing it now is an act of defiance against past hardship, a way to say no one can punish us. It's taking control over deprivation.
That adds another layer. And immediately after this act of release and defiance, she shifts again.
She does. We must pray now, boy. Asking for forgiveness for the waste, praying for strangers, orphans, widows. She's this bent stub of a woman, hair matted, praying over the muddy bread.
It's the mix of the sacred and the profane, the personal ritual and the communal prayer. It's bewildering.
It is. And her question after the prayer, how do you feel, Abbess? His response is surprising, taking her name as his feeling. I feel beautiful. I feel Grazina, refreshed by this bewildering new realm.
He feels Grazina, beautiful. He finds beauty and perhaps a sense of belonging through this shared, strange experience with her.
Yeah, this whole scene encapsulates so much of what Vuong does, using striking imagery, a bizarre ritual, and physical action to convey deep emotional weight without relying on heavy exposition or shouting the feeling. It's about finding unique ways to cope, confronting memory, and discovering catharsis in unexpected places.
Okay, so he accepts her offer to stay the night then, after all that.
He does. And in the wee hours, another layer of Grazina is revealed. He wakes to singing. Clear, pristine, lilted singing, like a voice coming up from a cavernous well.
Singing.
Yeah. He's disoriented for a moment, sees the owl figurine, remembers where he is. He creeps down the hall, stops at her door,
What does he hear?
and he recognizes the melody. Silent Night. But her voice is different now, hollowed out and girlishly high. Not the grate of an Eastern European sailor he'd associated with her bluntness.
Girlishly high, so different from how she usually sounds.
Completely. He pushes the door open slightly, sees her lying completely still, staring at the ceiling, eyes catching wet light, mouth forming the lyrics. It's a moment of raw, private grief and memory, witnessed in silence.
He's seeing something incredibly private.
He feels terrified, like an intruder on something sacred and painful. He whispers her name, but she's lost in the song, lost in her memory. He retreats, shuddering, closes the door, hurries back to his room.
This quiet witnessing, this moment of silence where the unsaid speaks volumes. Another key technique the notes highlight reveals the deeper currents of pain Grazina carries, hidden beneath her blunt exterior and her strange coping rituals.
Exactly. The next morning, he wakes to the train whistle, the sounds of breakfast. He sees the UPS jacket hanging on the wall, a puddle beneath it, and last night floods back.
The jacket, that becomes important, right?
Very. The jacket belonged to his friend Noah. They met working tobacco at 14 in that valley along the river, carving East Gladness in half.
And Noah?
Noah died 2 years ago, swallowed up by the valley, leaving only a tombstone. He remembers their quick, intense friendship, like July heat, that sticky film on your skin, and the powerful realization that no one is ever truly alone. This is where the theme of grief and memory becomes tangible, literally embodied in the jacket. Hai has worn it every day since No died, even in bed. It's torn, the U peeled off, his thought. But skin is skin, he told himself, even when it's not yours.
It's a physical way of carrying his friend's memory, of attempting to remain present with the loss, which you said is one of the chapter's core ideas.
Right, and as he's getting dressed, another stark reminder of where he was when he arrived. He finds the contact lens case with pills in the jacket pocket, shakes it, and slips it into his own pocket.
So it's still there, despite everything that happened with Grazina, that possibility. It's still right there in his pocket.
Exactly. It hasn't vanished. It's just been temporarily overshadowed. The weight is still present.
Downstairs, Grazina is making breakfast, a perfectly browned lap cake on a dish with faceless angels. She points out a daguerreotype of her great-aunt Agna, who had a humpback and a heart of gold, but her husband was the devil.
More small, poignant details about family history, hardship, and perhaps a hint of personal experience reflected in the description of the husband. She asks about his people.
And his response is just devastating in its simplicity. I don't got any people, just my mom across the river, but I can't see her now. He explains he messed up some things.
Brazina notices his broken glass is calling them one of many casualties. Then he brings up hearing her singing, calling her voice great.
How does she react?
She denies it completely. Don't be silly, Labus. I'm no singer. Must be those coyotes across the marshes.
What? Coyotes? He wonders if he dreamt it, remembering the warning about nightmares from New Hope. Her denial is absolute. It adds another layer to her character, suggesting a deliberate suppression of certain pains or memories, perhaps even from herself.
It really does. And then the carrots. She insists he eat the baby carrots first. He asks if they're good for eyes, and she dismisses it as a WWII lie.
Okay, so what is it about the carrots?
Well, she shares her own theory. Carrots, she says, give you the will to live.
The will to live.
Yeah. They are roots. They prevent the blues. They become orange because it's dark underground, and they make their own light like those fish in the ocean who glow from nothing. And when you eat one, you take in its will to go upward to heaven.
Wow, that's quite a theory.
And the punchline, ever heard of a rabbit jumping off a bridge? Of course not. That's because they have the light in them.
Okay, I mean, it's a profoundly personal, almost magical explanation for finding hope, framed in this quirky, unforgettable metaphor, finding light and the will to live from within when you're in darkness.
And Hai finds that this theory makes sense. It's a beautiful, strange way to articulate finding resilience. She used it herself after her husband died, eating only carrots for 6 months and not shedding a tear.
Eating only carrots. He asks when her husband died, right?
He does. And her reply is another line that just lands with such weight. When does anybody die? When God says, well done.
Whew. Okay. The conversation settles. The ticking of the kitchen clock fills the silence. Grazina is on the verge of saying something.
She starts describing her house old, falling apart, leaky ceiling, no washer dryer,
Setting the scene.
and then lists her needs. Help with groceries, a mousetrap, and tossing the occasional poor bastard in the river.
Wait, what? Tossing who in the river?
Yeah, that sudden, dark, almost throwaway line again, contrasting with the domestic details. It's unsettling.
Definitely. But the core of it is the offer.
Yes. No rent. He can have her daughter Lena's old room. Her real reason. She's 82, needs help, and it would be nice to have someone around.
He must be stunned. You want me to stay here? His eyes scanning her face, the surrounding owls.
Exactly. She tells him about the nurse who left, the waiting list, and then the story of Hubbard Street itself, the Devil's Armpit, a toxic spill, paid relocations, squatters, failed demolition, fire, asbestos, homeless camps.
It reveals the deep isolation and blight of the setting, this place abandoned and poisoned.
Right. Grazina and her husband refused to leave. Our lives are here. How could we leave? They were married in the living room. Another nurse saw the street, zoomed away. No one wants to live in this dump with an old lady.
It's a story of fierce attachment and resilience in the face of hardship and neglect. And it mirrors, in a way, the complex, painful ties that keep Hai from fully leaving his own past or his pain.
Well put. So, her refined offer. If he truly has nowhere else, he can stay as long as he needs to get himself together. But it's not charity, keftis. And she adds a gentle nudge towards reconciliation with his mother. A son should make peace with his mother before anything else.
How does he react?
He listens, his head tilted with the weight of her offer. But internally, even before she finishes, he knows he'll say yes. He realizes he had never refused anything given him without a price, which is how he ended up where he was in the first place.
That's a critical insight into his character, his vulnerability, and how a lifetime of passively accepting things has led him to the edge of that bridge. This offer, given without expectation, is something entirely new.
Exactly. Grazina gives a nervous chuckle.
You wouldn't want to live with a kooky owl lady, would you? He asks if she's sure. She nods. So he accepts.
And in this quiet moment, he reaches out and holds her hand, surprised by his own relief. His condition is simple. But just to get back on my feet, yeah, then I'll be out of your hair.
He doesn't know how he'll manage it, but he sees it as a narrow passage worth taking, a feeble tributary that should at least end up somewhere. He uses river imagery again, but now the water represents a potential uncertain path forward, not an end.
It's a shift. Grazina lowers her head, her hair falling onto the greasy plate, glasses askew, her eyes full.
We'll make a good team, right?
We'll make do with what the Lord gives us.
Hey.
She lights her last 2 cigarettes, offers him one, asks if he believes in God.
What does he say to that?
His answer: he's probably around sometimes.
Non-committal.
And her final comment, that missing front tooth winking as she cackles. Clearly, not as much as the devil.
That cackle.
Eh.
It's the perfect, darkly humorous end to the scene, leaving you with the weight of everything that's happened, but also this unexpected, strange spark of connection and potential hope.
Yeah, this entire sequence is the emotional heart of the chapter, showing how a moment of absolute crisis leads to finding refuge and a chance to remain present in the most unlikely place with the most unlikely person. It weaves together isolation, resilience, and the search for belonging.
And that brings us back to the analytical points from the sources, specifically the notes you shared, because they provide the perfect lens for understanding how Vuong makes this chapter so impactful.
Absolutely. As the notes say, this chapter doesn't just tell a story. Vuong brings memory into the page. His writing style is described as soft but unrelenting, lyrical without losing clarity.
You definitely feel that. You see it in the way he describes the river, the
Yeah.
specific details of Grazina's house, the bizarre beauty of the carrot theory, the quiet sadness of her singing. It hits you hard, but gently.
And the key technique we've seen throughout is his use of silence, detail, and rhythm to show emotional weight without shouting.
Right. Think about the silent moments, the boy on the bridge before being seen, high listening at Grazina's door, or the rhythm of the bread crushing ritual. It's a physical manifestation of internal release, not just stated emotion.
And the chapter truly unfolds more like a meditation than a narrative. It's less about a fast-paced plot and more about inviting you into the internal world of the characters, the sensory experience, the reflection on grief, longing, and what it means to witness pain, his own, Grazina's, the memory of Noah.
And how the unsaid speaks volumes. So much of the connection between Hai and Grazina is built on unspoken understanding, shared space, and action rather than explicit confession. What they don't say about their past is just as powerful as what they do.
Exactly. And that magic, as the notes call it, of how even brokenness, the boy, the rundown house, Grazina's life on the devil's armpit, is carefully lit. Not to be fixed or judged, but simply to be seen, to be understood in its reality.
Carefully lit. It makes complete sense. If chapter 1 was about the desperate act of survival, the fight for life itself, chapter 2 delves into what it feels like to stay.
Exactly. To carry the weight of everything that led you to that edge. To remain present with the pain, the memories, the grief, even when it hurts. Even when the world around you is broken.
It's shifting from the instinct to escape to the difficult, unexpected choice to simply be in a strange place with a strange person, carrying all that you were and finding a glimmer of light.
Yeah, it's a testament to finding human connection and resilience in the most unexpected corners of existence.
Wow, just one chapter, and it holds all of that. It's truly remarkable how Vuong uses language, turning narrative into this visceral, deeply felt experience.
He forces you to slow down.
Yeah.
To feel the texture of the rain, the smell of onions, the weight of a jacket, the strange rhythm of crushing bread.
Thank you for guiding us through this deep dive into these sources. It's given me such a richer appreciation for every detail in this chapter.
My pleasure. And for you, the listener, perhaps a provocative thought to carry with you after this deep dive. What does it mean to find the will to live? Not in grand heroic acts, but in small strange rituals, maybe in unexpected connections with strangers in broken places.
Mm-hmm.
How do you carry the weight of memory and loss? Not just survive, but stay and find a unique light in the darkness.
A lot to sit with there. We hope this deep dive helps you continue exploring the sources and the powerful, beautiful, difficult themes in this book.